In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up and configure a Shiva LanRover E Plus remote access server. Now, I actually got this server off eBay for only about $10 or so. And the whole reason I got it was so I could allow people with older machines, or some of my friends with older machines, that don't support like modern Ethernet networking hardware, to connect to the internet without trying to find some sort of free dial-up internet service online. Now, I have already configured this, and since it doesn't have a working clock battery, I guess it would be like a CMOS or PRAM battery or something like that, but there is one inside this machine, and it is dead, so it does not save any settings. So that's why in this video I'm going to go ahead and show you how to actually configure this, because it was quite difficult and it took me a really long time to figure it out. But since I have figured it out, I decided I would make this video to give people who had one of these devices the proper resources to configure one of them themselves. So I guess the first thing I'll start off with is just to show you around the thing, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So on the front here you can see we don't really have anything except the nameplate and label there. And we also have some lights indicating power, network activity, and whether or not somebody is connected to one of the 8 modems in this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it around to the back, and we'll take a look at the ports. So over on this side we have the power supply and power input there. It also has a hard power switch, as you can see. Next to that we have the networking ports here. We've got a thick Ethernet type port here, I guess. This is an old device, so it has some older networking standards, such as this. I can't remember what this is called, but it looks like a DB15 connection. Right there we have the BNC style Ethernet connection, and right here we have a standard 10 base T modern Ethernet connection. Well, I say modern, but this is only 10 megabit, which, I mean, for a 56K modem, that doesn't really make a difference, obviously. So next to that, we have all of the 8 modems right here. You can see that some of them look different. I'm actually going to show you this when I open this up, and I'll show you the inside. But you can see that some of the modem jacks here have silver surround, but some of them have plastic surround. And that is because there are actually different modems in here. I guess it had been upgraded at some point. So I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the inside, because it is quite interesting. So I'll be right back. Alright, so here we have the inside of the Shiva LanRover E Plus, and you can see it is quite small and compact. So here's the power supply right here. This is actually kind of interesting because the only connection it actually has to the rest of the machine is just a standard Molex connection. So I guess if this power supply ever did go bad, you could just use a standard PC power supply with this and just plug the Molex connection in. So right here we have the main logic board, or motherboard, whatever you prefer to call it. You can see here we have a clock battery. Now this is actually the same type of clock battery that a lot of PowerPC Macintosh computers use. However, this one is soldered in, while the Mac ones are in a socket. Now, since this battery is dead, I am going to have to remove it, and I probably will replace it with the half AA size socket, so I can just use the regular non-solder-in 3.6 volt half AA size lithium batteries that Macintosh computers use. So you can see right here, we have some onboard memory there, as well as an additional memory module that I assume was put in there by the previous owner, but it may have come with that from the factory. And then this is kind of the interesting part. You can see that the logic board has a connection that connects to a daughter board with all the modems in it. So if we take a look at all those modems, it kind of looks cool, I think, because you can kind of see from the side that like all these individual modem cards, and of course these are full hard modems, so there's no software modem emulation going on in this machine. So like I said, some of the modems are actually different from the others. So you can see that these 3 right here are the same, if you look at the actual modem card itself, you can see that these three are the same, and it is also the same as this one right here. Now the others are identical as well, but not identical to the other 4. So there are 4 newer modems in here and 4 older ones. Now these actually are different modems. The ones with the black surround, I guess, are the original ones, and they only support V34 standards. However, the ones with the silver surround, which I guess are slightly newer, if you look at them, you can kind of see that the circuitry looks a bit more slimmed down than the old ones. These actually support V90 56K speeds. So, yeah, I guess, I don't know why they didn't upgrade all of them to 56K, but I guess they had upgraded this to 56K at some point, I guess for better compatibility. So, that is the inside of the Shiva LanRover E+. So now I'm going to show you how to configure it. So in order to configure one of these machines, you're going to need a computer running Windows 9X. Now it doesn't have to be a physical machine, it can be a virtual machine, and in fact I'm going to demonstrate the configuration process using a virtual machine. But it has to be running Windows 9X. That's Windows 95, Windows 98, or Windows Millennium Edition. So either of those or any of those operating systems will work for this configuration. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a screen recording of my virtual machine to show you the steps needed to set up the virtual machine to configure one of these machines. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a screen recording and resume the video on the virtual Windows 98 machine. Alright, so here is my Windows 98 VM. Now, I just downloaded this off winworldpc.com. You can just get the pre-built VM from there. But one thing you're also going to need is the Windows 98 2nd Edition install CD as well, because we are going to need some files from that during this during the setup process. So the first thing you're going to need to do is go up here to this network button and make sure the network mode is set to bridged. This is very important. If it's not, you will not be able to detect the LanRover on the network. So first thing to do is just go ahead and download a few files. Now I will provide links to all these files in the video description, but let me just go over to my server here. Alright, and the files we're going to need are SNM4, which means Shiva Network Manager 4. Let's go ahead and download that. We're also going to need I think that's actually all we need from here. We're also going to need another piece of software called Novel Netware Client, and that is under, actually no, that is right here. This is this 34clt95.exe. Like I said, I will put links to everything you'll need in the video description. So we're also going to need Winrar. So let's go ahead. Actually, let's go to oldapps.com. And there we go. Let's go ahead and scroll down here to Winrar, because of course we need to get an old version that's compatible with Windows 98. Alright, so we can get 3.80. Save that. And we'll need that to extract this zip file, obviously. Alright, so those are all the files you're going to need to download. So let's just go to the documents and let's go ahead and install Winrar. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and extract Shiva Net Manager 4. And we're going to go ahead and install it. So we'll go to the disk 1. Now this is kind of a virtual sort of floppy disk thing. These, I guess, would have originally been put on floppy disks, but we'll go ahead and set up here. Just put it in C/Shiva, and it'll ask you for the second disk, so just type 2E, 3E, 4E, and that's it. So now it wants to reboot the machine, so I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And we are now in Windows 98 once again. So the next thing we're going to need to do is install this 34CLT95E file. So we can just go ahead and extract that with Winrar. So we can just extract it right here. Go ahead and open it. Go to the Win95 folder. Now, you're going to want to copy this folder to your C drive. Now, we don't actually need it right now, but you will need it later when we configure some drivers that we're going to need. And this, for some reason, has to be in the C drive. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be there, but it makes it easier if it is there, and you'll see why in a minute. But let's just go ahead and open it, and scroll down to setup.exe. Let's see where that is. There it is. Press yes, install. And this takes a little bit to install, so just bear with me here. Just press no on this. Alright, and at this point you're going to want to go ahead and select reboot. Alright, so you can see it loaded the novel Netware Client just then. And we are now back into Windows. So now what you're going to need to do is go up here to your optical disk, and you're going to need to choose disk or disk image, and make sure your Windows 98 SE ISO image is selected. Just select open here, and you can just press yes on this if it asks you that. And as you can see, I just inserted the 98 CD, so that's that. And now what you're going to want to do is go to Start, go to Settings, go to Control Panel, and go to Network. Now you're going to want to click Add right here, select Protocol, click Add, and you're going to want to select Novel right here, and then select IPX 32-bit protocol for the Novel Netware Client. Select OK, and select OK again. Now this is where putting that file in the C drive is going to be useful. So click OK on that, and then you're going to have to type in right here C:// IBM_ENU, because that was the file name in the C drive, as you can see right here. So if that's not in the C drive, you'll have to type the full path to it, but like I said, I recommend it be in the C drive. So just select OK. It'll install the files it needs, and it'll ask you to restart your computer once again. So go ahead and do it, and I'll resume the video once it reboots. Alright, so you can see we're now back in Windows 98, and now we can go ahead and start the configuration process. So what you're going to want to do now is go ahead and open up the C drive, go to the Shiva folder, and make sure Shiva Net Manager is installed. Now from here, there are some more steps we need to perform before we get started, but I'm going to go ahead and resume the video on my phone or on my camera just so I can show you what you actually need to do with the device, as well as what you need to do in Windows 98. So I will be right back. Alright, so at this point, you're going to want to make sure your Shiva LanRover is plugged into both the power connection and is connected to your local network via Ethernet. And one thing you're actually going to want to make sure when you connect your Ethernet cable is that this little switch right here, it's sort of under a little rubber thing. You're going to want to make sure it's switched over to this port. So it's indicating that we will be using Ethernet to to attach it to the network. So make sure that is set to this side, and then we will now be ready to turn it on. So go ahead and turn it on, and wait for it to reach the download status. And I'll show you what that looks like when it gets loaded up here. And you can hear those relays clicking in there. Those are actually the modems being pulled. The older modems are the ones that have the relays in them. The newer ones do not. That's why you will only hear 4 clicks. So as you can see, it does take quite some time to pull all the modems, but it does do so. So you can see some lights have appeared on there. And in a second here, it will be in download mode. So there it is. It is now in its download state. So now, what you're going to want to do is go over to your Windows 98 machine, and you're going to want to go ahead and launch or open this file right here, this sbootp file. So you're going to want to go ahead and open this, and then what you're going to want to do is ensure hardware type is set to Ethernet and your host IP address is set to the IP address assigned to your virtual, or not your virtual, but your Windows 98 machine, whether or not it's virtual or not. So the way you can check that is you go to run, and then you can type in run win ipcfg. And then that'll tell you the IP address that this machine is currently connected at. As you can see here, it is 192.168.1.23. So we can go ahead and close this and type that in right there. So 192.168.1.23. And now what you're going to want to do is find the boot entry that matches up with the device you're using. Now, as you can see, we have a LanRover E+, LanRover E, Classic LanRover E, and some other things down there. But you're going to want to make sure you find the entry that corresponds to your particular device, and then you want to just backspace all these comments out of these lines right here under your boot entry that corresponds to your device. So you can leave these two the same. But what you're going to want to do here is type the desired IP address of your LanRover or device, whatever it might be. So you can, so in my case, I'm going to make that 192.168.1.18. And of course, make sure this is on the same subnet as the rest of your network. So as for hardware MAC address, this is located on a sticker on the bottom of your device. So I'll go ahead and show you that real fast. So if I turn the device on its side here, you can see that the MAC address is right there. So in my case, it's 0080D328F890. Now you can see that the prefix of that has already been put there for me. So, like I said, it was D3. Let me check it again. It is 28F890. So we're going to want to type that in here. So just 28F890. Alright, and of course that will correspond to your particular device. So once that's all set, you can go ahead and close the file and save it. And then you can go ahead and open Shiva Net Manager. So when you get to this screen, the first thing you're going to need to do is go to Edit. Go down to, get a little bit closer, go to Edit, click on Preferences, and then in this list, select Management Protocols. And you want to make sure this is set to IP. Select OK. Wait for this thing to continue. Actually, you can cancel this because that won't do anything at this point. Do we still have our preferences open? No, we don't. And so now what you're going to want to do is go to Edit and select Begin IP Auto Download. So all you want to do is just set that and then just wait a bit. And if it works, you should start to see the status of your device change. So you can see it is still in download mode right now. And in a second here, we should get the lights should all turn off for a second. It should reboot, and then these flashing lights will turn green. So let's just go ahead and wait for that to happen. It might take some time. And this doesn't always work. I've had trouble with it sometimes, so you just have to give it some time, I think. Try it a few times. If it doesn't work within a few minutes, just reboot the device, and sometimes that usually gets it going. So I'm just going to wait here. Alright, so yeah, I don't think it's going to work right now, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the device off, turn it back on, and then we're just going to wait for it to boot up. And if it does indeed work, I'm going to go ahead and just resume the video once it starts to work. So I'll be right back. Alright, so the device just went into the green light state, as you can see. So we got the same pattern, just instead of amber LEDs, we have green LEDs. So we just wait here for a couple seconds, and then it should finish the booting process. Alright, so my device ended up getting stuck on the green blinking LED state, so I went ahead and reset it. And if that happens for you, that probably means that the firmware files that were located in this folder, referenced by this file, were too old. So I downloaded the latest versions I found online. I will put a link to these as well. And you want to find the versions or the files that are compatible with your particular device. So you can find them by looking through the list. And for example, for mine, we have the PE prefix for that, for the VROM, and the image, we have the LE prefix. So you want to, in the file that you download, you want to look for the PE prefix and the LE prefix, and then you want to copy them into the Shiva folder, as you can see I've done here. So once they're in there, you're going to want to reference them in this file. So instead of the VROM PE562, we're going to want to change that to the name of the new VRM file. So in this case, that is PE67P7. Go ahead and type that in. And the image file is LE57P7. And these files are located in a self-extracting zip archive. Like I said, I will provide a link to that. So once you update those two files, go ahead and close and save the file there. And go ahead and run Shiva Net Manager once again. Go ahead and cancel this. And once again, do edit and begin IP auto download. So once that's done, we'll go ahead and head over to the device and see what it does. And like I said, it may need to be reset for it to actually work, so I might do that real fast. And that's going to take a bit to initialize, so I'm going to go ahead and resume the video when it's done. Alright, so it has reinitialized, and in a second here, it should start downloading the file from the computer. And there it is. So now once it initializes, we should get those green flashing lights again. And there they are. So now it should begin to download the image file to load up on the device. So in a second here, it should finish starting up. And if they freeze for a second like that, that means it's working. So let's just wait a second here. And it is successfully booting up. So when you get the lights like this in this pattern, that means the device has now successfully booted up, and we can start the configuration process. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to my computer and a screen share once again and show you what to do from there. Alright, so back on the Windows 98 machine, you're going to want to go ahead and select Edit and End IP Auto Download, because we are now done with the remote booting process. And now what you're going to want to do is select Devices and Discover Devices. So let's just wait till that loads. And if all was successful, you should now see your device listed here. So go ahead and select it, select Copy, and then press OK. So now we are ready to start the configuration. And as you can see, it has the IP address that we assigned in the file earlier, so you can just go ahead and double click on it here. Okay, so it looks like this version of Shiva Net Manager is too old. So if that's the case, you can go ahead and close it, and you can download the newer version, which is version 4.5.2. So go ahead and save that here. Alright, and once that's done downloading, you can now just go ahead and install it. So let's just go ahead to my downloads folder here. Let's see. There it is, 5.4.5.2. And I'll probably just go ahead and link this version. Now this version doesn't actually come with the firmware files, as I mentioned earlier, so you're going to have to just get them from the SBP57P7 package. So we'll go ahead and load this. Go ahead and set up. It's okay. Okay. And yes. And we shouldn't need to reboot just because of that. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and open it. You can see that the device is there. Let's go ahead and refresh devices. You can see it sees it as up. We can go ahead and load, configure it. So to configure it as a dial-in server, you're going to want to make sure you select dial-in right here. You're going to want to make sure to select LAN to LAN originate, and that's all the configuration for this page. So we can go on to accelerators, and I'm not sure how much this configuration actually affects the speed of the thing, but yeah, I'm not sure. You'll have to experiment with that yourself. But the important settings we need are the IP settings. So for example, the IP address of the device that's already set, IP network mask 255.255.255.0, and just put your regular subnet in there. That can be blank. This is 192.168.1.1 in my case. This can be blank. So that's done. IP addresses, that's fine. I think all this is fine. The next thing we're going to need is name servers, which are DNS servers. So in my case, that is 71.252.0.12. Add that to list, and then add 71.242.0.12. Add that to list. Those are my two DNS servers. So, let's see. Alright, and that should be all the configuration for this page. So we're going to go ahead and close it, select yes, and we'll then send that to the device, and it will ask me to restart it. So go ahead and select OK on that, and it will start to reboot the device. Now when it does reboot the device, this is only a soft reboot, so you don't actually have to run through the whole edit, begin IP auto download, but yeah, you might be able to hear the relays and the modems clicking right now because it is re-pulling them. You can go ahead and select devices, refresh devices, and now you can see that this device is now up. So now what you're going to want to do is select this option here, which says get the user list from the currently selected devices. Go ahead and do that, and you want to add a new user. So just name the user whatever you want it to be. I'll just name it user. Password, of course, can be anything. So make it that. just make connect time unlimited. You want to allow dial-in and allow LAN to LAN access. Now here you can assign it an IP address when dialed in, so we'll just do it 192.168.1.30. And that is all the configuration you need for this. So just select OK. And if I could type in the password right, that would help. Select OK. And you can see that we now have a user added. So we can go ahead and close it, and then click yes to send it to the device. And that's it. Your Shiva LanRover device has now been configured. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my camera, and I'm just going to go ahead and call the device, or my landline, using my phone, and show you that it is indeed picking up and sending the regular modem sounds. So I'll resume the video in just a second. Alright, so as you can see, I have now connected my landline to the device. So in theory, when we call it, it should answer and play some modem sounds. So I'm going to go ahead and call it from my phone, or from my iPhone right here, and we're going to go ahead and see what happens. You can hear the phone rings and my modem picks up. You can hear some modem sounds are being emitted right now. Now, of course, this isn't a modem, so it's not going to respond. But you can see that it is answering and it is working. So we'll go ahead and end that call. And yeah, that's it. That's how to configure and set up a Shiva LanRover remote access server. So I hope you found this useful, and hope you enjoyed this video.